This is the fifth and final video for Chapter 1 of Shelley Cashman Series Microsoft Excel 2010 Complete. Now that we've done most of the chapter exercises and got the big stuff out of the way, we're going to cover what's roughly shown in page EX42 to EX51. And that's a bit more about using the finer parts of the program itself rather than putting data or content into the worksheet. So one thing we can do is removing content. So let's say we want to delete the chart that we've created. Simply highlight it by clicking on it, and you can delete it either by pressing the delete key or using the editing functions up here. So I've deleted the chart now, and suppose I did that by accident, we can undo the last command by clicking the undo button here. We can also do that by pressing Control Z as shown on the tooltip there. So if I undo that, and I can reselect it, and then go ahead and use clear all, and I'll clear that content. So that's one way to delete content. And we also went over briefly how to edit content. So here in our little title, there are a few mistakes. So I'm going to edit by clicking on the cell that I want to edit. And this time I'm going to use the formula bar up here. So I'm going to change that to embedded chart and press enter. Also, we are no longer using this title here, so I'm going to click the delete key and highlight this part and click delete. So what we are covering is EX42 to about 51, and that's doing a few different things here. So aside from deleting and undoing, we might want to change the properties of the document itself. So if we click the File tab and make sure the Info ribbon here is highlighted and go over to the right, we can see the titles of and tags and other parts that we can edit for the document. So the author, etc. So we can edit right in here. We can put the title Sable Foundation, right? Save Sable City Foundation or Sable River. And then another thing we can do is click Properties and show the Document panel. And that will allow us to edit things here as well. So Shelley subject, financial information, keywords you can put in there, category, status, and that will allow you to edit the parts of the document info. And when you're done, you can simply click close there. And another thing you'll probably want to do is print your document. So if you click again the File tab, we can go on to Print, and that will give you a preview of your document right there. So the settings, how to print something, you can choose print active sheets, so the actual sheet you're working on, print the entire workbook, which will be all the sheets as we saw at the bottom of the screen earlier. So sheet 1, 2, and 3, or print only a selection. So since nothing is selected, it's not going to show up in the preview. So we can go back to print active sheets, and if the data is wider than a portrait, you can change this here to landscape orientation, and then you'll see our red words showing up there. Okay, so let's go back to the Home tab and find out a few more little tricks that we can do. As we were mentioning, the workbook, this whole document has 3 sheets at the moment, and we might want to rename the sheet here. So if we double click, we can type in a different name as seen on page EX42. So Lifetime Fundraising Summary. and then press enter, and that will save. So we can change the other names of the sheets too if we like. So a final thing that we haven't covered that is really quite hard to notice is once we highlight a group of or a range of number content, and if you look down at the bottom here in the status bar, it will do some automatic calculations. So here, by default, it calculates the average of those numbers selected. It also does a count, so that's 6. It's telling you that 6 cells have been selected, and it even shows a sum. So if you select a range of the content and you right-click on here, you can add more things. For example, you can add a maximum, and that will show down here. So the maximum number of the series is right there, the 66,000.